Camron, the one who caused it, was accountable for Chrissy Lemon's complete breakdown and shattering. Her entire world collapsed with a single audio leak and a terrible voicemail. The leak, which revealed things Chrissy had been hiding for years, was not just messy, it was traumatic. When Jim Jones heard it, he let it to sink in. Camron didn't hold back. Jim Jones, the man who stood by her side during the street fights and infidelity rumors, didn't argue, didn't inquire, and just walked out of the house without looking back. Sources claim that the reason the TV show is ending is not just because of the leak, but rather because it confirms a long-running scandal and a betrayal that goes deeper than anyone could have predicted. The most controversial hip-hop romance has completely collapsed, complete with lies, betrayal, hidden messages, and a relationship between Chrissy and Camron. As expected, this is no longer just reality TV. You're telling me that after everything they've been through, you're going to hear the portion they don't want to share because once it's out, there's no coming back. Up until today, no one had anticipated this. A leaked video of Camron and Jim Jones has Chrissy Elkin in tears after the accusations of adultery, reality TV therapy, public outbursts, and endless criticism on Instagram. She recently awoke and darling, he left as like he had finished the whole fucking narrative. What's going on in the background? This is radioactive in addition to being dirty. Let's not pretend that this is another romantic tale. A meltdown in hip-hop? No, this is far more serious. We're talking about a triangle that might not be just romantic, as well as secrets and betrayals that never should have been made public. Several sources with knowledge of the situation claim that a hidden video that was allegedly shot years ago has suddenly surfaced, showing Camron and Chrissy in what seems to be a very private setting. Candles are lit, whispers are heard, and Jim Jones is not present. This leak's timing is awful. It happens right as Jim was purportedly finishing. Some kind of his devotion to Chrissy may have featured a proposal or a full-fledged elopement scenario, depending on who you ask. However, he has since abruptly left at a private dinner and has not returned any calls since Chrissy is in complete pandemonium, her staff is performing damage management, and his friends are freaking out. She hasn't stopped crying since the I video went viral, according to a source, and she wasn't even aware of it. Exists, despite her assertion that it isn't what it seems, but Jim saw it and said, "I can't do this any longer." Given the blurry nature of the film, can you really blame him? Despite Chrissy's distressed appearance, the voices are crystal clear, the chemistry is there, and this is when things go really crazy. In fact, Camron hasn't denied anything. He released an enigmatic tweet hours after the video went public, which alone has made some things that ought to have been between us stay between us and not between you and your friends. Sparked a digital inferno, and now some people are questioning whether this release was an accident, a last-ditch attempt to attract attention, or an intended one. Not to be overlooked are Jim and Cam. There is history, old scars, and resentment. Some even claim that Chrissy was more engaged in the Deepet disaster than either of them admitted. They haven't been close for a while. Is this video the first sign of a new conflict? Or is it the final piece of the puzzle? Now let's travel back to the early 2000s when Chrissy Lemon, Jim Jones, and Camron were all enjoying the glitzy fast life in Harlem. Rumor had it that Chrissy, a streetwise woman, was constantly around, first as Jim's girlfriend, then as his ride or die, and finally as the person who held him down when no one else would. Viewers spotted the strange side glances on backstage video, suspicious comments in interviews, and even a mention on a camera that Chrissy wasn't always Jim's alone, though nothing was ever confirmed. When love and hip-hop entered the picture, Chrissy became more than just a plus one. She was the main character, the spark, and the emotional center of the entire empire. With the album Keep Your Chick Close or She Might End Up with the Ghost, people thought it was just bars, but now it sounds like prophecy. You remember when she asked Jim to marry her? That moment on national television was not just romantic. It was historic, a woman defying norms that required dedication, but it was also the result of years of pain and feelings of abandonment and unlove. Dismissed, and now it appears that a single leak caused all of her effort and strength to suddenly blow up in her face. But this is where it gets dark, according to a verified source from a love and hip-hop production team. The source told Air that Chrissy got upset and said that everyone in that circle had abandoned her, except for one person, who she did not name but who we all knew was there. There were also scenes on the unseen tapes where Chrissy allegedly hinted at a closer relationship with Cam. What if there had been a breach in that loyalty? Limits. What if Camron was more than just a friend who helped her? For someone as vocal and impulsive as Jim, he has remained remarkably silent, not tweeting or sharing any Instagram stories. Fans are scrutinizing every frame of the provided footage as if it were the Zapruder movie, and his silence is loud. While some think he's lawyering up, others say he's hiding in Miami. Tattoos are being matched to old photos, the audio is being improved, and it is being slowed down. Chrissy's case doesn't seem promising at this point, and the internet has become a vast crime lab. Chrissy, the time is more crucial than the video. She was on a podcast last week talking about trust and second chances, and she said she was, finally ready to start a family. Jim and I are woken up to this betrayal after saying that, and it's not just personal, it's public. And people are talking about it, she said. More powerful than before. The hashtags Chrissy cheated Cam got receipts free Jim Jones are trending, despite the fact that they don't make sense. The rumor has it that a DM is involved, though. What if I told you that Jim's girl was mine? Was sent to a popular gossip website months ago from Cam's burner account. You know, Mona Scott Young. Initially, it was dismissed and taken down, but now it's being screenshotted, reposted, and analyzed like gospel, and everyone is wondering if this is a long-term strategy or a time bomb that will detonate when the suffering is at its worst. There are rumors that this whole controversy was staged to get clicks, contracts, and influence, but if that's the case, someone forgot to tell Chrissy because her tears and breakdown are genuine. It's the kind of drama that you can't write, but it's possible that someone did because of one theory. She experienced a full-blown panic episode at a meeting, according to multiple witnesses, screaming, trembling, and hyperventilating, saying, "I didn't do this." Additionally, Chrissy, give her an Oscar if that qualifies as acting. The video that Camron dropped was not only a disaster, but it was silent, and she clutched her phone as if it had just killed her dreams. She was paralyzed in that moment, and the silence between them felt like thunder. Her knees buckled, and she sat at the edge of the room, every breath she took seeming like treachery. Fans were quick to analyze every word, even comparing the audio tone to Chrissy's previous love and hip-hop clips. Radioactive included alleged voicemail recordings from years ago in which Chrissy, in an agitated tone, seemed to lament ever having been faithful to Jim and, worse, alluded to a contingency plan that had existed from the beginning. Oh, the internet detectives were at work. Camron always insisted that they were fake when Jim had been faithful to the wrong person, but now he had proof that it was more than just idle rumors. It was a 4K character assassination. Over time, and to make things worse, Camron posted it with a statement that sent everyone into a panic. The comment section exploded, and Chrissy was organizing the whole thing. Insiders said that Jim Jones had left their home in a black SUV with tinted windows, his face expressionless, and that he hadn't talked or texted Chrissy since the video clip. A blog that was known for revealing suspicious receipts then dropped another bombshell, sharing a screenshot of what they claimed was an earlier text exchange between Chrissy and Camron, in which Chrissy reportedly said, "I know you got me. You always had me if this goes left." There was only silence, and that silence was louder than any shout. Cam responded with a sly emoji. "They simply don't know. Like I always did, I got you." Wait, what are people doing? Began contemplating whether Chrissy and Cam were secretly having an affair behind Jim's back shortly after. The blogs were now engaging in more than just betrayal. They were engaging in outright espionage. Weren't only covering the story, they were also injecting exclusive interviews with the couple's purported associates, including one unidentified source who claimed to be a hairstylist into gossip networks. I knew something wasn't right. You can't flirt with your enemy and still love someone. When Chrissy used to chuckle when her buddies dropped tea in a now viral TikTok. Cam's name appeared on social media as if he wasn't her man's op, but Chrissy remained utterly silent. Jim Jones may have been petty when he unfollowed Camron and Chrissy on Instagram. When Love and Hip Hop executive producer Mona Scott sent a mystery message with some facts and then what seemed to be an unquestionable evidence, the industry undoubtedly started to react. Evidence in the shape of a recovered 2007 photo showing Chrissy and Camron in an intimate backstage setting. with his hand resting low on her waist and her face uncomfortably close to his ear. The picture, which had previously been ignored, was suddenly utilized as the last component, and even famous people started to comment. For instance, Andy Smith claimed that karma always gets the final say in a questionable tweet. The reaction to Remy Ma's blog post, "Betrayal will cost you everything," wasn't limited to the internet. The receipts were always there, so don't act like you're brand new. Financial. A number of businesses with which Chrissy had partnerships started to distance themselves, such as a jewelry line that was canceled and a high-end wig brand that she recently endorsed, which archived all of her cooperation posts. Jim, according to some close to the rapper, has been in Miami completely off, and she was losing business every minute after making a vague statement about sticking to her values and trust in her upcoming campaign. On the fourth day of the controversy, supporters who had previously viewed Chrissy as the ride-or-die star now referred to her as a mastermind meme. The grid, no studio sessions, and no public appearances, not even at his usual cigar lounge. But when a fan posted a grainy photo of him at a hotel in South Beach, his face looked worn by exhaustion. Showed up as Chrissy, Dipset's unseen adversary, the real reason Jim never married her, and plot twist queen. The drama was heading into uncharted territory, as Camron hinted, leaking a second leak, this time including documents that will complete the story, while Chrissy remains silent and unaccounted for. Every minute she didn't say anything, the internet added 10 more layers to the story. Intrigue. And as if things couldn't get much worse, a new rumor emerged that claimed Chrissy might have been the one who convinced Jim to break off his relationship with Cam in the first place, planting the seeds of suspicion years earlier to control the narrative and protect her private information. The question now was not if Chrissy was to blame, but how much she had shaped Jim's life. By now, Chrissy's name was trending for the 6th day in a row, and the problem had turned into a movie disaster. While the rest of the world feasted on the fallout behind closed doors, Chrissy was collapsing like never before, according to insiders close to the issue. The article claimed that Chrissy had isolated herself in a secluded Hamptons residence, avoiding the paparazzi and even cutting off contact with an unidentified stylist who was one of her closest pals. Disclosed to a gossip website that she is crying nonstop, that there is a dark atmosphere, broken glass all over the floor, and makeup all over her bedding. Additionally, she is not answering her mother or anybody else. House. But despite her collapse, the audience remained harsh and demanding more, and Camron knew exactly how to deliver. Cam returned to Instagram a week after the original breach. The man hinted at a document folder named the Final Straw PDF in a second live session. He just nodded and looked at the camera for the first 30 seconds. Thousands of people yelled, "Drop it and finish her," on the conversation. "You all wanted answers, so say less and let me explain why Jim," he said. He showed 2 old, blurry images on the screen, but one of Chrissy sitting next to an unnamed man in a darkened lounge with his arm draped over her shoulder seems to send social media into a panic. He stopped believing in his own team, which is why Dipset failed and why loyalty is a farce in this field. The mystery man enters a hotel room through a time-stamped security camera screenshot, and Chrissy follows him 5 minutes later. The camera didn't mention his name, but Twitter did, and an hour later, Chark Mystery Man was trending, with speculation over who it might be. Some speculated that it was a well-known music industry executive, while others thought it was an A-list actor who had been covertly associated with Chrissy while she was in Hollywood, since a rival rapper once made fun of Jim Jones in a song from 2015, Music. She reportedly wants half of his Los Angeles business. It didn't matter what was true because the story had already changed. To make things worse, a third unidentified individual who claimed to have been a former aide to a woman who sounded eerily like Chrissy is heard saying in a voice note that Mona Scott released, "Cam knows too much. I told him not to speak at all. I'm done with him if he flips. Jim would abandon me for genuine this time." Even though the voice wasn't confirmed, the video went viral and was shared on blogs as Chrissy's. Within 2 hours, the final confession. Reddit thread had over 3,000 comments, and fans began making in-depth films that described Chrissy's purported manipulation tactics. Jim Jones made a solo return in New York years later at a club show that had been booked months earlier, but he didn't perform or rap. Instead, he just stood in the VIP area. As the DJ played Dipset classics, People in the area were drinking while crossing their arms. "Chrissy F. Chrissy and Jim," the crowd yelled as We Fly High began to play, but Jim said nothing and just closed his. Chrissy was reportedly under constant surveillance at her hiding place. He seemed to be praying, according to some, while reliving each lie in slow motion, according to others. By friends after she nearly went to the ER due to a panic attack. Her blood pressure rapidly skyrocketed, making it hard for her to breathe. And she kept yelling, "He hates me," an unnamed nurse told a tabloid. "He will never forgive me. It's over." For someone who once commanded New York's most hazardous circles with unquestioning conviction, the breakdown was almost unrecognizable. Jim's loud, unfiltered mother, Mama Jones, joined the fray at a time when the public thought things could get any more poisonous, stating the truth, going live on Facebook, and emotionally and vocally yanking Chrissy by the belt. "You guys called me a hater after telling me that she wasn't right, as like I hadn't spied on the savage Mother Jones was right all along, as you witnessed from the responses. You people ridiculed this woman for attempting to defend her son. She didn't overlook it." The ride-or-die turned backstabber, who seemed to be the reason Chrissy never got a ring despite waiting for 20 years, was the final nail in her public character. You know who came back after all that smoke? According to a leaked email obtained by a questionable media website, Mona Scott was preparing to re-edit and re-release old material. Now, when it's game time, this was more than just a hip-hop movie about love with new background. She wanted to distribute a controversy-edited piece that they couldn't screen at the time, according to an unidentified editor. Businesses weren't just cutting ties with Chrissy in the interim. They were suing a fashion collaboration and demanding the return of their $60,000 advance, claiming reputation damage. Another partnership filed a cease and desist to stop Chrissy from claiming to be their ambassador. Something close to Chrissy reportedly tried to get in touch with Jim while she was still missing using a handwritten message that was leaked to the Shadow Room read, "I don't want forgiveness, I want the truth to stop being weaponized. I wasn't perfect, but I never meant to destroy you, I loved." Fans were split. Half said, "It's too late," while the other half felt sorry for her collapse. Was it genuine or phony? Even after I lost myself. Jim was spotted out and about sans his engagement ring a few days later. She was suddenly alone, and if the stories are to be believed, the man who had supported her through thick and thin was already being approached by streaming services and record labels to offer his viewpoint in an extensive documentary series. But Chrissy is still hiding and Camron is still trolling, so he posted one last meme with, "Love doesn't listen." In the description, I attempted to warn him, but the internet immediately claimed that Cam was the king of petty Jim, the victim, and Chrissy, the scheme of betrayal with no remorse, no conclusion, just chaos. Just chaos.